Hey guys, sorry about that. Let's do this right. Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. Is it it's the 28th? Is this the last day of February? Is this really the last day of February? We don't have leap year, do we? I don't even know what the heck's going on. All I do is focus on eating, drinking, and making videos and doing client work. How you guys doing? Welcome to Friday. I hope you had a good week. Hopefully tomorrow is March. We need to get on with spring, get past all this nasty weather crap. We need to get past all of these illnesses and sicknesses and all this. If you hear me cough or mute the thing, I'm finally almost better. I'm about 80%. I still have a cough and I still have some lingering sinus issues. So hopefully I'll be back to lifting on Monday. How you guys doing? I hope you had a good week. Before I dive into things, just a few things. If your question does not go through, try rewording it. Sometimes YouTube can filter naughty words, or sometimes it can just filter random crap for no reason at all, right? Because it's YouTube. You can also try shortening your question. Sometimes if it's too long, YouTube won't let it go through. I don't throttle anybody. I don't censor anybody unless they're posting something vile. If you are tuning in afterwards, please check out Instagram. You can DM me at any time with your questions. I'm always here to help. And don't hesitate. Please come over and join Team Massive Discord. You can find the link to Discord on any of the older videos. Sometimes the link has expired, so you can go over to my Instagram, DM me, and I'll give you the link. That's as easy as it gets. How's it going, guys? Before I get into things, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Let's see if I can get it up here. I can get it up. Let's see if I can get up what I want to get up, right? That's my website, Super Living Today. Go over and check it out. I have the massive omnibus in the book tab. It's just, I think it's at about 10 books of information, just jam-packed with information, my life's work. Also, I have a coaching spot open. So if you're interested, check out the coaching tab. It's only $89.40 a month after the first month. I was voted the online coach of the year 2 years ago, and last year I made the top 5. And one of the reasons why I was fortunate enough to win that honor is because of communication. I don't just check in once a week. I check in daily with my clients. I really focus on accessibility, being there and trying to make adjustments, on that day. So check that out. Also, if you go over here and check out the services tab, I have a custom workout for only $39. This is a huge bargain. I sell quite a few of those. So if you aren't interested in coaching and you just want a custom workout, check that out. All right, let's dive into things. Let's see what we got going on. I just had to comment. I just have to bump this to the top. Let's see, where is it at? Joshua said, Paul Carter cussed me out in emails. I'm not surprised that Paula cussed you out. I think Paula cusses out everybody. So don't take it personally. It's kind of like a Boy Scout badge, right? You've made it to it's just one of the badges you have to get on your journey to becoming a full Boy Scout, right? You're learning to start a fire, getting a hate comment from Paula Carter, et cetera, et cetera. So Eric says Paula Carter sounds like a clothing line. Far from it. Paula is far from a clothing line. All right. Let's dive into things. Bump up to the top here. Big Joe B. How's it going, Big Joe B? Good morning. Happy Friday. Big Justin Jones. What's going on, Justin Jones? And Rico. Rico, what's the word? The word is zero sugar root beer. That's the word. And the word is I want to stop getting sick. And Bristol. Martin, how's it going, Martin? Thanks for tuning in. Tips for dealing with injuries on a mental front. And this is a good one. Pretty normal, upbeat through tough times. But right now, I don't know, man. I mean, there's a couple guys on Team Massive that, dealing with injuries. Martin's one of them. Big Joe's one of them. I don't know, man. I simply don't know. Like I hurt my knee about 3 years ago, just walking down the steps, taking my dog out, just twisted it randomly. And for 8 months, it was swollen. I couldn't walk on it. I thought literally I was never going to squat again. And the year before it, I couldn't press overhead. Something had happened to my shoulders. I think I developed an imbalance while I was running and wasn't doing a lot of shoulder work, but still was doing a lot of benching work. And I couldn't lift my shoulders overhead without a lot of pain. And I thought I would never overhead press again. The only thing I'll say is, I know it's probably going to sound really cheesy, but this is a long journey. And, you're taking care of yourself. That's the important thing. Think about how you're going to feel when you're 70. Injuries happen. We have to assess and adjust off those injuries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, you're going to look back on the adventure and you're going to accomplish a lot. So just keep your head in the game. The only thing I'll say is, if we're picking up a lot of injuries, we probably need to look at dialing things back a little bit, maybe allowing for a little bit more rest. Martin is someone that trains a lot and trains very hard. And I've been thinking about this a lot, with Martin, and maybe we just need to pull back. Martin isn't getting a lot of sleep right now because he has a shoulder issue, so Martin, we can talk about that offline. Yvonne, how's it going, Yvonne? How valid would you say the BMI measurements are as a metric of health? Not. I mean, there's layers to this, and we need to unpack the layers to be, fair. And I'm not, I almost gave you a knee-jerk reaction, but let's kind of slow the horses a little bit and unpack this. When you look at longevity statistics, when you look at peer longevity statistics, when your body weight is more normalized, people are going to live longer. Now, it's like there's a cart before the horse, is the horse before the cart, right? Generally, people that take care of themselves tend to be a more normal body weight, obviously. So BMI, or having a reasonable BMI, is probably a decent indicator that you're taking care of yourself. Or if you look at the entire data pool, right, that those in a good BMI range are probably taking care of themselves better than those that are rated morbidly obese, right? I mean, obvious. So you have a better chance of living longer, and you're probably inherently taking care of yourself better. So if you have a good BMI, there's a good chance you're already taking care of yourself. So the question kind of answers itself, right? But we all know that someone can have a good BMI, could be an alcoholic, a chronic smoker. In this day and age, I'm not making fun, but could be a meth addict, right? I mean, you can't walk around anywhere in Ohio without seeing meth zombies. So, I mean, with that aside, men tend to, once men get to 240 pounds, they enter what is kind of known as the heart attack zone, right? If you look at longevity statistics, men over 240, tend to lose about 7 years off their life. Once you get up to 280, 300 pounds or whatever, it's more like 10 years. And beyond that, who knows? We're getting into crazy territory. So, I mean, in a general sense, if you are exercising and you are eating right, okay, and you're not a chronic alcoholic and not a smoker and not abusing your body, then BMI is a very good indicator that you are in a pretty good place. Harris, how's it going, Harris? Thanks for tuning in. Depressed due to a nasty recurring immune system issue. I understand. I got flu or diarrhea and miss a week. I get fine with resume with low weights and low volume. As soon as I get up the effort, I'm down again. One thing about hard, heavy training is that it can push your immune system down. This isn't something a lot of people talk about, but if you haven't trained in a while and you go train hard, there's a good chance you could get sick. What I mean is your immune system is going to be temporarily pushed down a little bit. I've experienced this several times over the years where I've been off of training. I came back, I trained normally, and I got sick the next day. So this is a good indicator that there is kind of an immune system. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Kind of I wouldn't call it a penalty, but when you return to physical activity, there's a recovery aspect where your immune system is pushed down slightly and could open the door to something. So with someone like yourself with a immune system issue, the best thing you can do is ramp into things, okay? I don't know your condition. I'm not trying to play a doctor, but what I do know from my personal experience is that a high degree of variability, like intense training, non-intense training, intense training, like going from one end of the spectrum to the other, tends to push your immune system down. Now, I do think your immune system and your body is going to condition, obviously. So I think stable, steady training is going to be the best thing. That would be my thought, would be the best thing for someone like you. Low weights isn't going to do you anything, any good. But then again, it's not going to, if you're getting sick from training, that's not good as well. So if you need to do a minimum amount, you probably need to stick with the low volume and just let the strength come to you. Ghost face. When training the bench press, should you touch and go or let the bar come to a slight pause? There's really no benefit to pausing the bench unless you're a dive bomber or really, really sloppy. The main benefit of a pause bench is to teach control. Like there are a lot of guys that tend to sink it into their chest or even slightly trampoline it off your chest. And if you're one of those, you need to have a period of your training where you focus on just bringing it down and just pausing it briefly. How long you pause it doesn't matter, okay? It's not a competition. Whether it's a split second or 3 seconds, there's no bonus points for a long pause. Remember the point of a pause. Like if you pause it for 3 seconds, it's not going to explode your muscle growth. It's not going to explode your strength, okay? And that's kind of how we get in the lifting world. Like, I'm going to pause, but I'm going to pause. We get these big balls, right? Or big, girl things, right? We won't be crude on team math or massive iron, but Not today, at least. All right. But we think I'm going to pause forever and be a bench press god, and this is going to explode my hypertrophy, and it's going to explode my strength. And that's absolute horseshit. Okay. It's just nonsense, right? The point of a pause is to teach control. And if you're powerlifting, the point of a pause is you have to pause, right? You have to have control. So there's two aspects to a bench press. If you're powerlifting, you have to pause or else the lift doesn't count. But if you're just normally involved with hypertrophy or one of us and not a powerlifter, the point of a pause is to teach control when you go down and not bounce it off your chest, because there's no value bouncing it off your chest. So with that stated, how long you pause doesn't matter. You just need to control it down. Just pause for a split second and drive it up. You don't want to pause excessively because it's going to cause you to get loose. You're going to get loose out of the hole, and then it's going to be sloppy. You're going to place extra stress on your elbows and your shoulders, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as you're not trampolining the bar off your chest, as long as you have good control coming down, all you need to do is touch and go. Just do a t-shirt kiss and go back up. I hope that helps. Big Joe B, how have you been managing with your 2 recent bouts of colds? Basically been one cold with a reprieve of one day. And what is your plan of attack? I really have just been biding my time and, being a workaholic. When I resume, I'm going to take the focus on weekly volume, because one of the things I get into, and I think I mentioned this last week, is that I get into personally, I have a lot of work and I love my job. Coaching is what I do for a living. And I can sit here literally for 12 hours. If you want an idea how much I worked, I can tell you after the spiel. How much I work, I can tell you after the spiel. But I need to, instead of mentally thinking I need to go over and do a complete 1.5, 2-hour workout, I need to go do an exercise, and come back and work and do an exercise and, message a client in between or whatever. And think about weekly volume. So that's really what I am going to focus on. I don't talk about this a lot. I don't let people know my personal information, but, I do work a lot. I love what I do. YouTube is not my primary thing. Coaching is my primary thing, anti-massive. There's a lot of things going on with coaching. There's a lot of things that go on with running a business. Like, for example, yesterday, I got done working. I went up to eat, and I had a message on email. Someone had ordered a book and wanted to know where the book was. And then someone decided to sign up from coaching that had ordered a custom workout. So I had to message them. So there's a lot of, when you run a business, there's a lot of things that come up that you don't expect. And sometimes you need to do catch-up time. Generally, I work 60 to 65 hours a week. Sometimes I do catch-up work on Wednesday and Thursday, and I limit my sleep a little bit on those days so I can do catch-up work. Yesterday, I forget. The day before, I got in the office at 8 a.m. and I worked until 10. And then, so that was a 14-hour day. Then my wife got home from her classes late that night. And then I worked again spent a couple hours with the wife, and I worked again from midnight until 4 a.m. So I had 18 hours of work in at 4 a.m. Then I went to bed for 4 hours, started working at 8, and then worked until 7. So I got another 11. So I had like 29 hours of work in a day and a half. Got caught up. But, that's kind of how it can go sometimes with running a private business or a small business. For some isolation work, biceps, for example, is it okay to implement a 3x8? And then you can do whatever you want. Certainly that's reasonable. and I'm not being dismissive, but as long as it's reasonable, we play in the world of reasonable in the massive iron. We play in the world of reasonable in the massive iron world, redundant. But yeah, it's reasonable. So absolutely. Tendonitis can be a brutal thing. Don't hesitate to reduce your volume if you need to, down to 2 sets. Big Daniel, client of mine, who may or may not be around 50. Do you think a TRT is necessary for men after a certain age, or is a healthy lifestyle enough? Definitely not necessary. And it's definitely not a replacement for living like a buffoon, right? It's not a replacement. You don't get to drink, you don't get to eat like a Slobachevsky, and then, arbitrarily or randomly just take TRT and hope it'll put a finger in the dam, so to speak. For men that are taking care of themselves, I'm not saying men that aren't taking care of themselves shouldn't use TRT. You go do your thing and talk to your doctor. None of my business. There's a spectrum, obviously. So it's none of my business. But, if someone's taking care of themselves and they work hard, they have a career, they're taking care of their family, they're taking care of their responsibilities, and their hormone levels are a little bit down, go ahead, go do it. And we're not talking about lifting TRT, which is fake TRT and, basically a mini steroid cycle. We're talking about normal TRT. You have one life. You're taking care of yourself. If your test levels are a little bit on the low end, go for it. There's an odd aspect or an odd area to the lifting community where everything is natty or not, and that's all good and well. I mean, the spirit of that, we all understand. We do, but, it can have a really fringe end of the spectrum. It can be natty or not with no common sense end of the spectrum. Like, oh, there's a 50-year-old man who's, taking 50 to 100 milligrams a week or whatever you're taking. I don't know what doctors are giving for TRT, but, if he posted that online, just going to get hate from the fringe and the ignorant, and everything becomes radicalized. And, everything he does is because of TRT, right? So, but, I don't really care about those types of people. Anybody that gets on social media and dismisses hard work is, clueless. One thing I've learned, this a little bit off topic, but strength respects strength. Okay. Those that are working hard understand and respect those that are working hard. So I want you to remember something. When you have somebody on social media that is one of these robots, that thinks somebody just has good genetics, or somebody is on a minimal degree of TRT, and it's all that, and it's all genetics, or they dismiss hard work, there's a huge chance they've never worked hard in the gym. They might think they're working hard. They will convince you they're working hard. But one thing I've learned in my 40 years is that if you are working hard, you are busting your balls in the gym, you respect the process, right? If you see somebody on a minimal degree of TRT, 500 to 1,000, or excuse me, 50 to 100 milligrams, or whatever the hell it is, right? You're not going to think, it's all TRT. You're going to think this guy is busting his balls. He's probably planning his meals. He's routine with his training, and he's training hard, and he's focused on taking care of himself. You're going to respect the effort. Rarely do you see on social media from one of these radicalized, fringe comments that these people are actually working as hard as they should, because they don't understand the process, because they're not doing the process. They don't understand hard training because they're not doing hard training. Now, I am not saying that there's not extreme drug abuse at the top level of bodybuilding, powerlifting, and strongman. I'm not saying that at all. These guys still work incredibly hard, right? It's like if you get to the Super Bowl of your sport, or you get a chance to play at the Super Bowl level of your sport, you've worked hard to get there. Even if you have superior genetics, that's not a given that you're going to get to the Super Bowl level. You still have to work incredibly hard. So these guys that are at the Super Bowl level, we can be generically dismissive and say it's just genetics or it's all drugs. That's bullshit. Because there are plenty of people with talent that never make it anywhere, right? The only way you're going to make it there is with laser focus and dedication and a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. Now, we are not dismissing the fact that there is extreme amounts of drug use and likely drug abuse that's used as an amplifier to their existing hard work. But we do have to understand that successful people are going to be successful regardless of the chemical equation. So if you took all the IFBB guys, no more drugs. You took all the strongmen, no more drugs. You took all the top power lifters, no more drugs. And you put them up against everybody else in the pool. Most of them, if not all of them, would rise right back up to the top because they were there to begin with because of their hard work and their dedication to the process. Does that make sense? So I'm rambling a little bit here. But my whole point is to stress that strength respects strength, hard training respects hard training, and those that are working hard understand the dedication and sacrifice and what it takes to get there. And the rest, the little fringies in the corner on social media, are sitting there, TRT genetics, right there. They're being just, it's all TRT, it's all genetics, it's all this, it's all that. And they're using that nonsense because they're not doing it. They don't understand it, right? So they think anybody that's achieving results above and beyond them is all genetics or all chemicals. And I hope you can see that these people, in almost every case, aren't training hard and aren't dedicated. All right. Happy Friday, Team Massive. What are your thoughts on losing personal items in a public gym? Recently lost my favorite bottle in a gym, and now I'm sad that it's gone. Hey, I understand, man. Let me tell you a story. When I won Trainer of the Year last year, they gave me this wonderful gym bag, which was a gold zipper and gold trim, and it's all the stuff, and it was, I don't know, expensive, and it was just a gym bag, but it meant something because I got it because I was Trainer of the Year, and I got a new set of Beats headphones, right? And these aren't Beats; these are like $15 ones. I got there, but I got a set of Beats, and I got a new set of Versa grips, and I put it in my little gym bag, and I was, the first day I put it in my car, and I went to train at a local gym. I have a home gym, but I went to train at a local gym. And all my stuff in there, my new Versa grips, my camouflage Versa grips, and my new Beats, right? And my fancy awarded gym bag for winning the Coach of the Year. And I came home from the gym, and it was in my car. And that Friday night, some teenagers got drunk, and they broke into my car and they stole it. I didn't lose it at the gym, but they found out they threw it in the wood line. They were drunk, and long story short, one of the cars they broke into had a credit card, and I think that's a felony. So they ended up getting charged with a felony. So somebody's stinky ass gym bag. Well, it wasn't stinky, but that wasn't their main priority. But anyway, I was searching for it in the wood line. I walked from hell and back, right, and I couldn't find it. So yeah, I mean, it's not easy. You get attached to these things because they're a part of your journey. Had that water bottle for a very long time, switched it out for another bottle because yeah, I mean, these things are part of, our journey. I think I'm not saying everybody has something like that, but it's definitely not unusual. Did you ever experience cold sweats, dizziness, shaking from being glycogen? Yeah, no, from diabetes. Um, my blood sugar would go down, and sometimes I would get a little bit of lightheadedness. I would get a little bit of shakiness. That was from that wasn't from glycogen. That was more from blood sugar. I think what you're experiencing might be related to blood sugar rather than glycogen depletion. Uh, if your blood sugar is all over the place, you're probably gonna, I've had this happen with my diabetes. Um, and you get dizziness and sometimes even cold sweats. So I'm not a doctor. I just play one on YouTube, but I would say there's a good chance that that is related to blood sugar. If you're experiencing blood sugar related issues, generally they're temporary. The body will adapt pretty quickly. But I would, when you come off of the cut, watch your intake of sugar, white flour, any of the things that can really mess with your blood sugar in general. Shelly, a client of mine, how's it going, Shelly? And Justin had a question last week for those tuning in about bench press. And Justin, I will get back to you. But, I did want to talk to you about coaching to see if you'd be interested because you are struggling. And I just want to toss it out there to see if you are interested. Shelly, what question do you wish you could answer once and for all and be done with it? I would say there's a cadre. There's a bunch of questions that I would like to answer and just having a frequently asked question and have it tattooed on my face, right? And be done with it. Not that I don't mind answering the question, but you get them so many times, like how should I rest in between sets? And the answer is rest until you physically and mentally feel ready to go again. There are topics, I get tired of. Tired is the wrong word, right? I'm here to help, and helping people never gets tedious. But when you have other influencers out there, spreading stuff like you have to do low volume because you're a fragile little natural, or you have to do a certain program frequency, or you won't see gains. These are lies and they confuse people. I think the biggest thing that frustrates me as a coach and someone that has to handle questions on a daily basis is that I see a lot of confused people. So when I make a video, about, or even a social media post, like Dr. Mike talking about building a big chest with cables only, I'm not saying you couldn't build a big chest with cables only, but we really have to caveat things and educate people. Like, we don't really want to build a big chest with cables only because it's not the most efficient and effective way. We're not talking about optimization necessarily, but when it comes to building a big chest, we want a good selection of exercises, and we would never want to build it with cables only. So the question is, why did we even float this out there? And things like being a coach, you basically get pelted each day with people that get confused by this type of content. And some people read into it and think maybe he's saying cables are the best way. Now you can say they're ignorant, right? You could say, well, these people are ignorant. There's a ton of new people entering our hobby, right? Our interest, our world, our realm, our culture. Thousands of people on a daily basis, thousands and thousands. They don't know, right? That's how people, you see, people will enter, they'll get pulled into the tide that is Athlete X or Dr. Mike or whatever. And excuse me, that might be their first video. They get confused. Should I do cables only? They don't know, right? They don't know. So I'm not saying we don't put out a video that says how to build a big chest if you only have cables, right? I'm not saying we don't do that, but we need to educate people in this industry and say, but this isn't the best way. You should do this if you can, right? The biggest thing for me is the amount of confusion and the taking away of freedom in this industry. Influencers showing you and pretending like it's a narrow path or it's a granular path, or you need to be optimal, you need a specific split or a specific grouping of exercises, or the old exercises are inferior and I've come up with new exercises that are superior. All of this stuff is horseshit. It is. And all it does is confuse people. It might not confuse you guys because you've been around the block. Not only have you been around the block, but you built a house on the block. You live there. You understand. But a lot of these people don't. And they're not inferior. They were you once. And they're trying to understand. And you've been to the point in this industry where you're like, I'm so confused. Maybe some of you are there right now. I'm so confused. I really don't know how to process all this information. What are the best exercises? What is the best split? You know, what is the best nutrition plan? What is the best progression plan? Right? How many days a week should I train? You guys are swimming in this pool where all these questions are confusing you, and you're throwing out a call for help to be rescued. But even then, when I try to rescue someone, they still have doubt because I become just another voice that's yelling at them while they're drowning in the ocean. Does that make sense? They're in the ocean. Everybody's telling them different things. You have to do low volume. You have to do high volume. You shouldn't squat. You better squat. This is a replacement for leg presses. You need to do frequency training. And then Big Hairy Ugly Dude comes along and says it doesn't matter. And you're confused and you're drowning and you don't know who to trust. And I'm just another voice, and that's fair. And excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm sick, and I apologize for not muting that. So you're drowning. I'm just another voice, and you want to know the honest answer to this question. It's frustrating just to be another voice because they are, whether they're doing it on purpose, most of them aren't. Most of them are confusing you because of their dogma. You know, they believe there's only one way or this is the magic way, which it's not true. So they're teaching a restrictive path or a granular path. And when somebody like me comes along and says, hard work on the basics, it's freedom. You have the freedom to use pretty much any workout as long as your weekly volume is reasonable. You have the freedom to use any exercises as long as your overall weekly impact is reasonable. You're free to use any rep range as long as it's reasonable and adjusted to that exercise. You're free, you're free, you're free, right? You don't know if I'm lying. You don't know if I'm biased. I am biased. I am biased in that way. I'm biased in a way that's trying to set you free. But you're afraid, or these people are afraid, that if they run in the direction of freedom, that I might be wrong, right? That the other person might be right. And this is the biggest crime in lifting and hypertrophy, because you have 7 million voices or 7,000 voices or whatever it happens to be, all teaching different things and confusing you. And for those of you guys sitting there right now, you're like, yeah, they are teaching different things. What can we learn from this? Very, very simple conclusion. if you have 7,000 different gurus, all teaching different things, and they all got big and they all got strong on their flavor of training, what can we learn from this? That there's no magic style of training, that there's no magic frequency, no magic set of exercises, no magic progression approach. What we can learn is that the path is wider. And as long as you have the pillars of success in place, what I call the pillars of success, and you can check that out in my book, Massive Omnibus, or just search it here on YouTube. You have a reasonable selection of exercises, you have a reasonable volume, a reasonable split, a focus bulk, on and on and on. As long as you have these pillars in place, you're going to be fine. All right, let me mute this and cough. Sorry, I'm still dealing with a cough. Big Mike. Is there anything I'm leaving on the table by doing seated barbell overhead? No, not at all. Nothing at all. That's basically all I've done over the course of my career. I've dabbled a little bit with single arm dumbbell overhead, but simply because at a point getting 100 or 120 pound dumbbells up to here and cleaning them is a pain. So I would do a standing single arm overhead press. No, not at all. A seated press is going to add more stability and back support. So it's going to be easier on your lower back, and generally you're going to be a little bit stronger. Doesn't make it magical. Doesn't mean you have to do seated. If you like to do standing, do standing. It doesn't matter. So, not at all. That's all I've really done over the course of my career. By the way, let's stop calling a seated overhead press an AD press. It's not an AD press. It's always been a seated overhead. I mean, no disrespect to Alpha Destiny, but it's not an AD press. It's not an Alpha Destiny press. It's a seated overhead press. You have a military press, which is done standing, and then you have a seated barbell overhead. So I'm just gently poking at Alpha Destiny and the use of the AD press. You only get to name something if you invented it, right? All right. Let's see. Barbell Beauty, happy Friday. Thanks for joining in. Eric says, what is going on? Is it lunchtime yet? Another black coffee going down here. Well, it's Friday, so it doesn't matter if it's lunchtime. It doesn't matter what's going on. The thing is, you are hyper caffeinated, which is good. It's Friday. We get to hit the end button, reset, and have a weekend and get all wacky and funkadelic. PD, top 3 Metallica songs. Well, mine are going to be different from anybody else, but I like Bread Fan, and I know that's not a Metallica original, but man, I love this song. I just absolutely love the cover. Blackened. I love Blackened a lot. I think it's just a good ball kicking song, and maybe Damage Incorporated. Hard to go wrong with Damage Incorporated. Duca. Hey, Steve, Team Massive. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Heavy Duty Josh. Josh has a baseball player in his avatar, so bonus points. Best jobs for someone to have who loves bodybuilding. Online coach. Right. I wouldn't want to be a personal trainer in the gym, but honestly, I think the best job would be to develop a social media following, to do a YouTube channel. Only stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. And outside of that, something where you sit and think a lot, right? Something where you can, I wouldn't want to be hyper active. A little bit of activity is good, but I wouldn't want a job that's super physical. Justin Jr., what are your thoughts on milk for adding size? Milk is full of good micronutrients. Anybody that's saying it's not a good source to use, there's no other way of saying it. They're an idiot, right? Milk is what sustains babies, right? And I know we're drinking cow's milk, but, okay, there's a reason milk sustains babies, because it is this soup of nutrients and phytochemicals that is comprehensive and amazing for the growing bubba, right? That doesn't mean you need milk. That doesn't, as an adult, that doesn't mean it's a superfood, but it's not a processed food. It's not a bad food. Anybody that's saying it's a bad food is simply an idiot, right? We get all these reductionist viewpoints in fitness and nutrition, that push back against reasonable things. It's full of quality phytochemicals and nutrients. Now, I'm not saying to rely on it solely, right? You still want to have animal-based foods where you can, chicken and pork and beef and seafood and whatever. And you want to fill in the gaps with, some animal-based stuff, which isn't as nutrient-dense, but still fills in the cracks. But yeah, it's perfectly fine as part of a balanced, reasonable eating program. Big Ernie Kleinemann, thanks for tuning in. Ice cold. If it wasn't for Paul Carter to enter the fitness community, then nobody would have hated him with a burning passion. I just don't know, like how people get to that point. I don't. I really don't. I'm not here to psychoanalyze anybody. I don't particularly care. But he's threatened me. He's threatened so many people. At one point, I'm not trying to cancel people, but good grief, it's just radically out of control with this guy. How is sausage number 5? Little Bird is doing well. We weren't sure about getting a 5th dog, but the breeder called us and said he was incredibly sick. He was incredibly underweight. He wasn't eating. You could see his ribs. He was just this tiny little thing. And he wasn't well. And actually, the day I picked him up, I didn't think he was going to make it the weekend, And now he's doing incredibly well. It's like 4 months later. He's part of the crew. Healthy, happy, wonderful life. I just, love the little guy. So I'm glad we got him. Big Sam. On a bulk, should the muscles feel full? No, don't set arbitrary things like this, right? The point of a bulk is to be in a calorie surplus to facilitate muscle growth. So don't worry about anything arbitrary out of this. I don't feel full when I'm in a bulk. I don't try to feel full. I don't worry about glycogen. Just try to be consistent, nail your calories. That's all you need to worry about. Don't set your calories at a specific surplus. Adjust your calories based on what the scale is going. A surplus is a theoretical starting point. Saying that I'm at a surplus of 200 calories above maintenance, if the scale isn't moving, means you're not at a proper bulk. You're not at the surplus you thought. Even then, we don't care, right? The goal is to move the scale at a certain level. So just adjust your calories based on that. Eric, the Beard of Redness. When your gym adds 3 new leg machines, how do you choose which one to play with first? Well, the first thing you do is you walk in and you say, is there anybody on the machine? And if there's nobody on the machine, then we have narrowed it down. But if there is somebody on the machine, then we don't play with that first. The second thing we do is we ask the big, hairy, ugly dude, which one do you think's best? Which one do you think's worthy of consideration? Sorry, I'm still a little sick. Play with them all. You don't have to go in and do a full set and rep schema-rama, right? Just go and test it out, see which ones feel good. And then if you want to play with them a little bit more, go ahead. Fickenberger Lutzi boy. Hey, Steve, is it unusual to feel strain in my upper pectorals from doing crocalicious rows. I have a suspicion that it's probably due to breakdown in my form. No, nothing's wrong with your form, my friend. I mean, it's really hard to screw up a row. You know, the back is going to be a balancer or part of a bench press, the same way the chest is going to be a balancer or part of a row. It's not a primary mover, stabilizer. It's going to be involved to a degree during the eccentric, but nothing to worry about, nothing to be overly concerned about. When you say a strain, are you getting soreness or are you getting repeated strains? We really need to clarify that. Big Jeff Scott. Can I do weekly top singles at 90%? No. Overuse is going to come from a lot of volume, usually moderate or heavier weight. You can do a single each week or a couple. I used to work up each week on bench to a max single, double, triple, or quad, and then back down and do what I call the threes protocol, which I taught to you guys. So the bench is very forgiving. You're generally not going to pick up any punishment. You're certainly at minimal to no risk of overuse injury. Big Lee. All right, what do we got? I saw Mike O'Hearn, Mr. Duck Eggs, Mr. Natural of all time, do a reverse grip bench. I tried it with a Smith machine, and I want to marry the lift. I don't have any advice. If you like it, use it. But if you're doing it on a Smith machine, I'm not being dismissive, but I don't know anybody that does a reverse grip on a Smith. I've never met anybody. You're the first. That doesn't mean you need to stop using it. But I don't know how you unrack and turn it on a Smith machine. I honestly don't. It's just going to have to be something you need to play with. Josiah. Happy Friday, Steve. I've been deadlifting for a few months. I just got to the point where I can lift 305 for one rep. When would beginning to use a belt? You don't really need to use a belt. There's no urgent need to add a belt. First and foremost, you want to make sure your form is good. If you're not sure, send your video to me. Second of all, you want to have proper bracing, and that's part and parcel of having good form. And from there, whether you want to use a belt or you don't want to use a belt, it's up to you. Somebody that can brace, with a belt is going to be able to brace without a belt, and a belt is a personal preference. If you can brace without a belt, you're probably going to be able to brace with a belt. There's a little bit different aspects to bracing. Bracing without a belt, you're kind of bracing like someone's going to punch you in the stomach, right? When you brace with a belt, you're kind of doing that, but pushing against the belt a little bit. So there's no need to buy a belt. But if you are a serious lifter, I would consider getting a single prong 10 millimeter belt and just play around with it. And worst comes to worst, you don't like it, and it just sits there on your shelf like mine. Ice cold. Tried doing strict press this week. Hold on a second. Sorry. Tried doing strict press this week. Moved from 135 and barely got 3x5. Don't dismiss it. That's good. 3x5 on 135. Most people will never get to. That's pretty solid, what I call entry-level, big-time goal. While feeling heavy. Well, it should feel heavy. It's not easy. That's okay. I'm thinking maybe to take a break from that exercise. Yeah, I'm going to continue this on. And bringing up my Z press and replacing it for strict press. If I do, no, don't do it twice a week. Alternate between these two. Then I get my shoulders more strong. You're not going to get bigger and stronger delts by arbitrarily doing one lift twice a week. A Z press is going to be harder and you're going to use less weight. Doesn't mean it's not a valuable exercise. But the best option would be for you to use both. You're going to use less weight on a Z press than you do on a strict press. So, moving to an exercise is not going to give you bigger and stronger delts because it's a downgrade. And I'm not talking a dramatic downgrade. It's just kind of a slow step down. The best thing to do would be to train both. That's going to be the best for overall shoulder strength and size. Big Lee. Because look, when you do a Z press, there's nothing wrong with the lift. But what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position where you're sitting on the ground. A Z press, you sit on the ground with your feet in front of you. And again, there's nothing wrong with this lift, but we have to analyze it from a logical standpoint. You're sitting on the ground making the lift harder, but are you making it harder on the shoulders? No. You're making it harder to perform because you're sitting on the ground. So there are ways to make it harder on the shoulders, and there are ways to make a lift just harder to perform. If you're going to squat in an earthquake, it's going to be harder to perform. Is that necessarily going to be harder on your quads? So, again, a Z press has a decent progression opportunity. If you like it, go ahead and use it. But you probably should be doing both. Big Lee. I got a fast metaboloids. It was always a skinny runt. Would this make cutting for, say, a bodybuilding show easier? No way to, I don't think it's ever easy. No matter where you start, whether you're somebody that can eat 5,000 calories a day and maintain, or somebody that can eat 2,600 and maintain, I don't think cutting is ever easy, and that's the honest answer. And I think whatever relative degree you need to be from your maintenance level, I don't think it's easy for anybody. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but I don't think there's any reasonable difference. Big Joe B, do you think creatine is important when lifting is on hold and injured? Creatine is a wonderful supplement that provides a lot of, well, when I say a lot, I mean in a relative sense. It's not magic, but it can help with energy production. It can help with, power generation. And it is also good from a nootropic or brain standpoint. So there's no downside to taking it. For overall health, creatine might as well be considered like D3. It's optional, but there's always good benefits from taking it, even if it's very, very minimal. Bullet, thumbs up. Thank you for joining in. I'm going to run your torso limbs 3-day plan. Great. And anybody that missed that, I have a post. I have a YouTube video, a short or a reel or whatever you want to call it this week, and some Instagram posts on it this week. I only have access to Planet Fitness. Will that suffice? Absolutely. Yeah, you just pick a good selection of exercises with a good progression opportunity that you have at Planet Fitness. Absolutely. If you need help, just let me know. Big Sam. For large delts, would you say presses? Yeah, way more important than lateral raises. Lateral raises are like a last tier exercise. And that's going to trigger some of you, but they simply don't have a good progression opportunity. They're not a bad last place exercise, but no way are they going to give you a great degree of impact, whatever any influencer says. Progressive overload is key, but for some reason on this lift, influencers somehow forget that it's not going to be something you're going to dramatically, progressively overload over the course of 10 years. It doesn't mean you can't use it. I use them, but the side delts your overhead presses are way more important, and they need to be in there. If you're not doing them, you're not really training your side delts hard. there's really nothing else to do but tinker around with upright rows and laterals, and that's not going to give you large delts. When I measure my BMI, it will say I'm overweight. That's normal for lifters. Don't worry about that. Okay. Worry about your body fat percentage. What you guys want to worry about is when you look in the mirror, do I have any man boob fat? Do I have any love handle fat? Do I have any lower belly fat? Do I have any lower back fat? When you get rid of all of that, you're at 18% or lower. So around that range is what I would consider reasonably healthy or in the position to be healthy. And then if your body weight's a little high, it's due to muscle mass, so don't worry about it. I promised my baby mom I'd take her gym for a bit. Any advice for training someone with rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto, and a screwed left knee? Well, number one, you always have to find exercises they can do. So you don't want to overdo the volume. You don't want to overdo the volume for somebody that's new to the gym. You don't want to put them on some minimal barbell focused program. They need to be on machines and dumbbells for the most part. And just give them 3 or 4 months, allow them to break in. Then if they want to transfer over to some more barbell exercises like the barbell bench or whatever, then they can. So that's my best advice. Don't try to train them like a power lifter with minimalism, etc., or with a lot of volume. Big Sam, is 9 hard sets of arm isolation per week more than enough? Oh yeah, I've never done more than 9 sets on biceps or triceps a week in general over 30 years. Absolutely. You can do more if you want or you have time, but I don't ever do more than that, really. I haven't over the course of my career. More is not better. Better is better. First, you analyze the amount of time you have to train each week. And then from there, you build out your program and you train hard. And then if you have time to put in something else, go right ahead. Thank you, Ghostface. I appreciate it. Big Jeff, a client of mine. Good morning. Steve, you're a workaholic machine. Stay healthy. Now, I'm going to poke a hole in what you're saying here. Okay. A workaholic would be somebody that does something that hurts themselves or others. I am helping others. I still have plenty of time to myself. I take care of myself. And it's not driving my unhealthiness. I rarely get sick. This is the first time I was just bragging like last month. I haven't had a cold in 3 weeks, but occasionally I do work more, but we all need to occasionally. So I appreciate the concern. When gym sessions take longer with increased volume, I'm considering decreasing the volume down to 10 sets per major body part. That's fine. That's a reasonable volume. So that's absolutely fine. For those of you watching, major body parts are going to be chesticles, back, shoulders, and quads. Now, somebody's going to say, well, hips are a major body part. Hips are a big body part. Glutes are a big body part. But when it comes to bodybuilding or building up the body, a major body part is something that's going to hit the other body parts so you don't have to do it as much. Like doing all your presses is going to hit your front delts and your tricepticons a lot. So when you are done with that, you don't have to do as much triceps because your presses are probably going to give you 60 to 70% of your growth. Big Logan. You had a client who recently participated in a bodybuilding show. Can you guide us through some detail and speak on the prep? Yeah, so, the biggest thing to understand is there's no wavering when you're competing for a bodybuilding show. We picked a show, and you never know how things are going to go leading up to a show, especially when it's someone's first show. So About a month out, we were pretty much at the weight we thought we were going to be at. So we had weekly phone calls, trying to make sure we didn't overdo things and lose extra weight at the expense of muscle. Um, so there's, you know, I would say it's better to come into your goal weight a few weeks early. That way, if you do need to lose some more fat, you have a little bit of room. Um, prep was basically a very restrictive diet, and a lot of us would not like that restrictive diet, but there's no wiggle room. There's just not. We have to remove the crap. You could have occasional refeeds, where you're eating a little bit more, 3, 4, 500 calories, but mostly he was doing that with meat, so uh, I have a very specific peak week protocol that has to do with timing and your sodium and all that. And I don't have that handy with me right now, but I will say I'm no bodybuilding expert, but the clients I have worked with on their shows have been the first client was called the most ripped at his show. The last client was arguably one of the most ripped at his shows. He was up in that top tier echelon. So what I'm doing, I'm very confident because of how much I've researched it, is working. But it's not about the coach. The person has to execute, right? Execution's everything. I can give somebody a really good plan, but they have to execute. And it's really about the execution and dialing things in as you get closer. Eric, I caught big, hairy, ugly dude working past 1 a.m., and I caught you being up later than 1 a.m. Ice cold Tristan. What causes gained excessive body fat? Eating too many calories for a prolonged period of time. It's not carbs. Now, that doesn't mean eating excessive amounts of carbs are healthy, but it's just eating an excessive amount of calories, right? If all you ate was a 2,000 calorie bag of M&Ms every day, and all you did was eat carbs, you wouldn't gain weight, you would lose weight. Oh my goodness. The legend is in the house. This gentleman is one of my favorite human beings in Ohio. And he runs a liquor store that I may or may not visit. So good to see you. Joshua, you mean to tell me that doing things in reason actually produces results? Blasphemy, I know, right? Absolutely. Alonzo, good to see you. What bulk and cut? Why bulk and cut multiple times instead of just staying? Because you can't gain weight when you're not gaining weight. You can't main gain and gain muscle. You can't gain 10 pounds. You're stapling yourself to like an arbitrary body fat percentage. Like trying to stay at 20% body fat, that's going to be bulking. Okay. It's going to be the same thing. Your assumption, and I don't mean this as an insult at all, is that my bulking protocol puts people in places where they get excessive fat. If you look at my clients, they're not really going, doing reasonable bulks isn't really pushing them, outside of their normal body fat percentage by a couple points. So I would say to you, number one, because it's the most efficient way. We aren't sticking to arbitrary things like 20%. You can't bulk for 5 years in addition. You'd get fat as hell. You would. And if you don't get fat as hell, you're not gaining weight and you're not gaining muscle. Okay? Excuse me. I'm very sorry. I didn't get a chance to mute it. If you start out at 180, hold on. If you start out at 180 pounds and 20% body fat, and you try to stay at 20, you bulk for 5 years, you're going to end up like 240, 250 pounds. Bulking, reasonable bulking, the massive iron way is not going to get you fat. You're going to get a couple pounds of fat during a bulking cycle. But it doesn't matter how you bulk. If you bulk for a prolonged period of time and you are actually bulking, you're going to become a fat ass. If not, you're not bulking. Even if you bulk reasonably, while you're only gaining a couple pounds of fat over a 3, 4, or 5 month block, over 5 years, you're going to gain 30, 40, 50 pounds of fat because you never cut. And you're not going to stay at 20%. So what you are presenting, and I don't mean any disrespect at all, isn't a bulk. Because if you're going to bulk for 5 years, even if it's a reasonable bulk, you would end up gaining 30, 40, 50 pounds of fat over 5 years. Because you're in a slight surplus and you're gaining a little bit of fat over a long period of time. Okay? If you're not gaining a little bit of fat over a long period of time, you're not bulking, you're playing the Harry Potter school of wizardry, or where you hope to gain 20 pounds of muscle and lose 20 pounds of fat at the same time. So that's why. Due to my low back being prone to blowing discs from work, yeah, you can. You can absolutely. I've worked with Special Olympians. I've worked with people with all kinds of medical conditions. As long as you can get into the gym and find a selection of exercises, you can. Doesn't mean you need to do mostly machines and chest supported stuff. Not at all. We just need to rule out exercises that are taxing your lower back. Maybe to the point where we don't do pendlay rows or dumbbell rows, but you can still get a lot of mileage out of dumbbells and barbells if you just pick the right ones. And that's what I'm here for. You can fix lagging anything. Is there a such thing as having lagging arms? Well, yeah, Joe. I mean, if you're training hard, you're going to grow your arms, but that doesn't mean, your arms are where you want. There's always an ability to do specialization programs. Are they going to be dramatic game changers? Probably not, but they are certainly worth trying because this is a long, long process. I've injured the muscle right around the tailbone, and it keeps me out of squats for a while. Generally, I can't see how squats are going to. The only suggestion would be don't do squats for a while. My suggestion would be to stick to other potent leg exercises for a while, allow it to completely heal, and then maybe come back to squats and see how it goes after you've strengthened a little bit. Big Justin Jones. Can you explain what being coached by you is like on a daily basis? Absolutely. So most coaches, and this is the truth, I'm not making this up, don't coach full time. They simply don't. For whatever reason, that's not a criticism, right? They do other things. I just saw a video this week from an online coach who was saying a lot of his new clients come to him and say that we're with another coach and say just getting them to communicate once they've paid is a pain in the ass. And that's true. It is true. It's very much true and very much normal. And a lot of coaches in this industry will give you a cookie cutter program and a cookie cutter macro and say good luck. And they'll check in once a week with they'll check in once a week, via email and look at your stuff and give you a few what they call adjustments, right? And there's no real accountability Because if you're trying, like, if I'm with my clients every day, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but there's no real accountability. It's not a criticism, it's a reality. You know, most people, 80% of people need that daily accountability. They need like micro dose. How you doing with your calories? Your calories were a little low yesterday. That's okay. Let's bring them up, right? We're talking, like texting. Most people need that, right? You can give them a plan, and a coach can do weekly adjustments. That's fine if you're the 20% that's nailing it. But a lot of my clients have questions, tomorrow I'm doing, I hurt this, I do that. I don't think personally I could ever coach doing a once a week check-in, because things happen on a very fluid day-to-day basis. If you're going to train somebody in basketball or wrestling or MMA, checking in once a week as like a god outside of the giant bubble looking down at statistics, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to swear that's not fucking coaching. That's not coaching. I don't care what anybody says. You can disagree with me. Some people can do okay with that because they're training hard and they just need soft little pushes and directions. It's still not coaching, right? That's my opinion. And that's not a criticism. That's just my belief. That's why I don't coach like that, right? So most people need daily feedback, at least at times, not every week. I don't have clients that need daily feedback every week, but they want to know they're on the right track. They want to know, like, hey, tomorrow I got this set. So I don't just do the weekly look at statistics and say, next week, move up your squat 5 pounds and bump your calories by 50. That only works if you're one of the radical 20% of people that never get injured, are always perfectly following the plan. And that's a fairy tale. But that's the way coaching is in this industry. When you work with me, we set up a time to talk. We don't do cookie cutter stuff. I don't give you a generic split, or I don't give you a generic set of exercises. We talk. What exercises do you like? What equipment do you have available? What are your injuries? Is this an okay split for you? How many days a week? How flexible, inflexible is your schedule? And then I have a coaching app, but it works just like texting. You can upload files, photos, and videos. All you need to do is track your weight and track your workouts. That's it. But we still connect on a daily basis. I check in. I have a list of clients. It shows me how many messages the clients have. It has a little red number by it. So depending on what's going on that day, if I know if I have a hot client, I have to check in on them. New client, I want to make sure I check in on them early to make sure they're on track. And you get to know everybody. Everybody has different habits of reporting. But I check in on everybody every single day. Now, I'm going to tell you something I've changed in my coaching that may or may not be apparent to folks. I used to, for 3 years, just check in once a day. I mean, I think that's good enough, right? I think that's good enough. I mean, I'm checking in 5 times a week on clients. I used to do that. I've actually upgraded it. Now, when they respond, most times I'll respond. I have become so efficient with my communication system that I don't just check in once a day. Usually if there's a follow-up or just a conversation, it's not uncommon for me to reply to clients 3 or 4 times a day, almost like back and forth texting. Now, we don't want it to turn into that because I have work to do, right? And we don't want it just to turn into some arbitrary conversation about, hey, man, what you doing on the weekend? How's the basketball game? That's not coaching, and I don't have time for that in the coaching world. So that would be an insult to the clients that aren't involved in this personal conversation. So I try not to do that stuff, right? A little bit's fine. You get to know people, but, if it was just an ongoing text stream, but I don't know if my clients have noticed the transformation, but I try to get my messages as close to zero by the end of the day as I can. That's almost impossible because you can stop for 2 hours and then you get more messages, right? But, I check in at least once a day, and that has been 2-3 times a day generally. And we make adjustments based on whatever's going on. You can send up to 1 form video every single day, 7 days a week. Sometimes 2 videos. Any more than that, and it just becomes very, very difficult for me to manage. But that's, we really work on exercise form. 7 videos a week is nearly 30 a month, roughly, right? And we really comb through all our exercises. Not just, other coaches are giving you, here's a to-do list, do seated cable rows. Okay, I did seated cable rows. I'm going to tell you something. Doing seated cable rows doesn't mean you're getting anything out of seated cable rows. Doing lat pull downs doesn't mean you're maximizing lat pull downs, and doing hammer curls doesn't mean you're maximizing hammer curls. If you have a coach, and I'm just being real here, we're adults, that gives you a to-do list of exercises, says, here's your bowl of soup, Justin. Eat your soup like a man, right? That's not coaching. That doesn't assure you're getting the most out of your work. It's just giving you a fucking list of exercises. Look, I can give anybody a list of exercises. I can do that right now on Instagram. That's not coaching. If that insults a coach, I don't care because it's reality. We're going to make sure you're doing the lifts properly if you can get form videos to me. Because it doesn't matter that you're doing a lift. It matters that you're doing a lift and getting the most out of a lift. Now, there are many coaches that aren't form experts. And I'm not saying I'm the expert of all experts. But I will tell you that the number of form videos I see on a weekly basis is more than most coaches will see in a year. That's not an exaggeration. That's not an exaggeration at all. On any given day, I see at least 100 form videos from my clients. I do. I see at least 100 videos. Probably somewhere around 100. Maybe 75. Right? And that's 5 days a week. We'll go with 80. That's 400. You're looking at least, 1,600 to 2,000 form videos from my clients on a monthly basis. So you're looking at 20 to 30,000 form videos a year. And plus I'm assessing things on Instagram. People send me their videos, Team Massive. I'm not patting myself on the back for being prolific. What I'm telling you is I have seen so many videos of seated cable rows and squats and you name it that I see in the matrix. I see nuance. I see 1/4 inch shifts in your deadlift weight, and we need to move this back a 1/2 inch, or your hips need to come down a 1/2 inch, or whatever the case may be. So with my coaching, you're not just getting a list of exercises. We are working to make sure you're getting the most out of your exercises. We also do daily adjustments. You can ask me anything on anything at any time. Hey, I heard an influencer said this. What do you think? Nope. Hey, I heard, what do we think about adjusting this or calories or what's my weight? We stay agile. We work together on a daily basis. At any time, my clients can ask for a new phase of training. I'm tired of this. Can we do this? Yeah, absolutely. I put together new workouts for my clients generally on Saturdays. Usually I have 4 or 5 workouts to put together on a Saturday for my client base. Um, Most of my clients stay on it at least a year. Now, again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I work really hard to build relationships with my clients. And because I coach for a living, I have a bigger client base than most coaches. Again, not patting myself on the back. It's just a reality. It's my business. Most, and a bigger client base, and most of my clients have been on for a year. It's rare, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, um, it's very rare where someone will say like, "Hey, man, I'm having a baby. I have to pause coaching or whatever." Half the time, somebody has to pause coaching and they end up coming back. I have a lot of my clients come back. Again, I'm not a saint. I'm not Jesus or whatever, Buddha or whatever. But I just take this seriously. I'm not perfect, but that's what coaching is like. You are going to get everything I have, and not everybody's going to like it. It's not going to be a good fit for everybody. You know, um, I'm not a big puffy, ripped bro with witty social media posts with endless amounts of horse shit. I'm posting on Instagram about. I did all the lifts and all the things, right? I've done all the accomplishments. I've done the running. I've done the lifting. That's if you want all that hype and that form of motivation, there's nothing wrong with it. But we're going to get in the trenches. We're going to get it done. I have a huge base of people getting it done. Like bench press, for example. I don't talk about this a lot, but if you bring somebody to me, we're going to make progress on your bench. I've never not had somebody not make progress on bench. It's going to be slow. It's going to be steady. It's going to be drip by drip, drop by drop. But you're going to see consistent progress. And I've never not had somebody not see consistent progress. I have clients that compete in golf, professional golfing, and jujitsu, and I have one of the world's best professional lumberjacks that I coach. One of the top guys in the world. He goes all over the world and competes in timber sports. One of the best, one of the top 10. I have a wide variety of people I coach and a wide variety of goals. So I have that. And I just have guys like me that just want to lose 50 pounds and feel sexy and have better sexy time. And guys, I want to build up a bench. Whatever your goals are, I meet you where you're at. So that's the best I can explain it. Big Johnny, how do you sell learning barbell basics to a beginning lifter? People at work ask me what they should do. Good luck, man. I mean, I'm just being real with you. I don't sell, I plant seeds, and I think that's a better way to look at it. Like, planting seeds. People can water the ground or they can not water the ground, right? When you give someone information, the ground's either fertile and that information is going to take root and grow into something good, or the ground's not fertile. Sometimes you plant seeds and the ground is dormant, and then 2 years later, the ground becomes fertile. That's how you have to look at it. It's not your job to convert. It's your job to plant seeds. Does that make sense? If the knuckleheads want to do what knuckleheads do, they will remain knuckleheads. But don't take that burden on yourself, my friend. Don't take that burden on yourself. You just speak the truth and move on. All right. All volume equal. Any split in particular you would say is best or better? No. I mean, I'm being honest. It doesn't matter. Go watch my video called Fuck Your Program. It doesn't matter. That video confuses some people because they're like, you put out a lot of programs, but you say, fuck your program. I do. Doesn't matter. The best program for you right now is the one that works for your time and that motivates you. We always think in terms of weekly volume on Massive Iron. That's it. What do you do? All right, let me warm up for this one. Hide the kids. Hide the wife. Hide the dog. Hide the boss. Go into a tunnel. Go into your car. We're about to get into it. We are about to get into it. Everybody in their seats, please. I want your attention. What do you do if you go into the gym and feel weak and tired? You use the word feel. Okay? How we feel has nothing to do with how the muscles will perform. Now, I'm not telling you to train recklessly or to do stupid crap. If you warm up and you feel off that day, live to fight another day. That is the warrior mindset. We are walking a journey of 1,000 miles. And if today we can only move 10 feet, then we move 10 feet. We are always moving forward. Okay? We never do anything that risks the journey or moving forward in the journey. But how we feel, I feel tired. I feel weak. I do not give a shit how you feel. Fuck your feelings. Go watch the video I put on YouTube called Fuck Your Feelings. Feelings are generally a lie. Again, caveat, I'm not telling you to do anything reckless, but fuck your feelings. I don't care how you fucking feel. Okay? Because you can feel tired and go in the gym and hit a PR. I've done it 100 times, if not many, many more. I remember feeling tired when I had kids. One day I only got 4 hours of sleep. I worked second shift. I got in 8, got to bed about 2. And Saturday I had to get up at early, and I was feeling tired, right? And I had a big squat day. That morning, I remember specifically, I was going to put 640 pounds, including chains, on my back. And I had been looking forward to that weekend all week, but I was feeling tired. I was tired, just tired. I'm so tired. Right? I was tired. I was a tired son of a bitch. I was feeling tired. That doesn't mean my muscles were feeling tired. That means I was feeling tired. I went in the gym and I ripped the living shit out of that squat and hit a 640 double. The most I ever did, and I remember it well because it's just one of those things that lingered and it taught me a lesson. Fuck your feelings. Feeling tired doesn't mean you're not going to perform well in the gym. I mean, a week. Well, that doesn't mean your muscles didn't wake up today 30% weaker, right? Strap your shit on, get your electrolytes in, get your meal in, get your hydration in, and let's get to the motherfucking gym. Now, what do you do when you get in the gym and you're feeling weak and tired? And I'm not making fun of Ian. I'm just using a little bit of humor here. But you need to hear it. What do you do when you feel weak and tired and you don't want to train, you just want to sleep and you just want to eat and you just want to piss off the day? You look in the mirror and you say, self, I do not give a shit if you feel weak, and I do not give a shit if you feel tired, because we are on a mission, we have a purpose, and we are going to go to the motherfucking gym and get shit fucking done, because I'm not a bitch. I'm not a pussy. I have a fucking goal, and I'm not going to quit every time a little twitch or twerk or a little tear falls out of my eye, or I feel and I didn't get perfect sleep, right? I do not give a shit because I am stronger than that, and I am on a motherfucking mission. I am a force of fucking nature, and we are going to get this shit done. I do not care how I feel. I do not care if I feel weak. I do not care if I feel tired. I'm going to get my ass to the gym no matter how I feel. I don't feel like driving to the gym. I don't feel like walking to the gym. I don't feel like going down into my basement gym. I don't feel. Anytime that word feel sets in, anytime you hear the word feel, it's a trigger word for me. It's like, fuck your feelings. I'm getting in the realm of feelings. Feelings are not going to control my actions. You need to push back. Pushing back is essential for long-term mental health, long-term mental strength, and accomplishing your goals. You need to push back. You need to push back to yourself, back against yourself. You're never going to achieve anything substantial in this life if you don't push back when you feel weak and tired and unwilling and you don't have it all, because those are the days that define you. Those are the days you will remember. Those are the days that will provide most of your major victories in the gym. When you go in there and you're weak or tired and you rip shit up and you hit big PRs and you're crushing things and you walk out and your balls feel like motherfucking watermelons. Those are the days that define you. And this isn't some hyperbolic rah-rah fucking speech. It's the truth. Anybody can walk in the gym feeling, I'm feeling good. Great. Go fucking train, Junior. Go train. You were lucky enough on that day to feel good. Maybe it's the fruit of your sleep and your recovery and your rest and your nutrition and your health habits. That's wonderful. But the majority of your mental strength and intestinal fortitude is going to be developed on those days when you push back against yourself, because there are voices in your head that are telling you, I feel tired, I feel weak. And then that does not have to define what you do. Because I feel weak, I feel tired, I do not give a shit. I'm going to take a step forward today. I am not going to let the voices in my head push me to the point where I don't take action. Now, you get into the gym. The thing you want to try to do is at least get that first set done. Okay? 90% of the time you get that first set done, the rest of your workout's going to go smooth. And all of a sudden you don't feel as tired. And all of a sudden you don't feel as weak. Maybe you feel weak through 3 sets. Maybe you feel tired through 3 sets. But 90% of the time you're going to walk out of that gym feeling like a champion. And you're going to be damn glad you push back against yourself. 10%, you're going to feel like a wet sack of crap. And you know what you do on those days? You do your stuff. You maybe cut down to 1 or 2 sets per exercise, and you get the fuck out of the gym and don't get injured. Okay? But you got in and fought. The final word on any of this is that the key to success is pushing back against yourself. Okay? There's a difference with how you feel and what the muscles can do. Because I feel I didn't sleep well last night doesn't mean I can't rip the living shit out of my bench press set. That's a lie. That's a lie you need to stop believing. Okay? If you want to be a force of nature, if you want to get the most out of this life, if you want to grow your mental strength and your confidence, then you need to push back against yourself. And on those days when you do not feel like doing a motherfucking thing, you look in the mirror and you say, self, go fuck yourself, because we are on a fucking mission. Amen. How do I get calories in if appetite is low? Okay. Congregation, the Church of Iron, sit down. We're going to have another sermon. We're going to have all kinds of sermons today. Sit down, grab your water, prepare yourself. Hydrate, slap yourself silly, get the cooties out of your eyes. All right, here we go. And don't take these things personal. I'm just trying to educate you guys. Here we go. How do you get calories in if your appetite is low and you can't eat a lot? Rhyme? I do not give a fuck what your appetite is. I do not give a fuck how you are feeling. I do not give a fuck if you feel like eating or if you don't fucking feel like eating. I do not give a fuck. We're in the realm of feelings again. My appetite is low and I don't feel like eating. That's really what you're saying. Okay? I don't give a fuck how you feel, Rhyme, because I love you. I don't know you, but I love you. I love you enough to care about your goals. There is one way to achieve your goals. There is a process. And to achieve your goals, you have to follow the process. If you get up and your process says, I need to eat 3,200 calories today, but I don't feel like eating because I don't have an appetite, I do not give a fuck how you fucking feel. That's what you need to say to yourself. Either I'm going to do the thing or I'm not going to do the thing. If you're sitting in a boat and you have to row across the lake and it's 10 miles, and your goal is to get across to the other side of the lake, and that's the process, but you're in the boat and you're like, I don't feel like rowing. What else are you going to do? You're either doing the thing or you're not doing the thing, Ryan. Pick. You're either in or you're out. Okay? I do not care about your feelings and I do not care about your appetite because I care about your goals. If someone wants to be elite or just pack on a lot of muscle mass or whatever their goal is, they want to get the most they can out of school or life or relationship or whatever they're doing, there's a process, and either you're doing the process or you're fucking off and not going to achieve what you want to achieve. It's as simple as that. It's as cut as dried as that. Now, I'm going to move on to the second part. I can't eat a lot. Bullshit. Bullshit. I can't eat a lot. Bullshit. The rest of the world is eating themselves to fucking death, but Ryan can't eat a bag of Doritos. I'm just being honest with you. You're full of shit. And I'm not saying that to be confrontational. That's what I would say to myself in the mirror. That's what I say to myself in the mirror. I don't say I can't run 50 kilometers. I say you're full of shit. Go out there and do it. You can eat, right? You're full of shit. It's not that you can't, you don't want to. That's fair. But either you're going to do the thing or you're not going to do the thing. Okay? What are some calorie-dense foods? Anything with fats. You can take a meal and you can add a dollop, and we all feel weird saying the word dollop, right? A sour cream, you can add a little bit of cheese, you can add some avocado. Boom, all of a sudden you got 400 calories on there. A little bit of chocolate milk, a little bit of whole milk, a little bit of heavy cream in your protein shakes, a few almonds here or there, some Doritos, some ice cream, some pizza, a fucking burrito bowl from Chipotle with all the fatty stuff, right? Number one, you need to plan, okay? If you're not planning, you need to plan. I want how I feel to come into things, right? These are the amount of calories I need. I'm going to plan. And then you need to follow through on the plan. Anybody that's not eating enough needs to stretch themselves. It's not that hard to get fat. It's not. I don't care if you have a beer and a bag of Doritos to round out the 20% calories for the day. Anybody can eat a pint of ice cream, right? And that has more than 1,000 calories. So I'm saying this because I care, and I appreciate you being here because you're here a lot on this channel. And I'm not coming after you specifically. I want the best for you guys. But what I'm saying to you is what I'm saying to myself and what you need to say to yourself. I do not care how I feel, and I can. Those that find a way, and this is true, and it's not just some trite nonsense, those that are desperate for their goals find a way to do it. They don't get up every day and live in a world of I can't. They live in a world of what the fuck am I going to do to make it happen today? That's the world you need to be in. That's where you need to be. This goes back to mental strength. I am not going to live in a world where I'm finding ways out or I can't. I am going to become a force of nature. And we're going to find a way to get this done. So, not that hard. You can't live in, I don't know how you eat, but you can't live in a chicken breast, tilapia, and broccoli world. That's a lot of food intake, right? Step up the beef, some meat that has a little bit higher fat content. Add the sour cream, add the guacamole, add the cheese, add the heavy cream and the protein shakes. And at the end of the night, have a small bag of Doritos. And if you need to, a pint of ice cream. Let's get it done. You can. Big, hairy, ugly dude. Is it normal to feel an upper pec stretch when doing NG pull-downs, neutral grip pull-downs, I would assume? Admittedly, I do them quite heavy. It's not unusual. I mean, at the top, things are going to stretch. Is it unusual? No, I would say it's not unusual. It's definitely nothing to worry about. We tend to boil down exercises or compound movements into certain body parts, and they're far more complicated than that. So don't worry about it. Just worry about feeling that back, and you're good to go. I tried doing pendlay rows on a bench for chest support. More like a seal row, I would assume. Was a hassle. Yep, I can imagine. I had to put plates under the bench. Yeah, it's definitely a headache. It's not something I'd ever want to do. If you like doing it, go ahead. Is training 6 days a week too much? No. It's all about the weekly volume. You always have to look at things in terms of weekly volume per body part. It's not that any days per week is magic. So if you have a fitness personality that says you can only train 2 days a week because your body is fragile, or any more than 3 days a week is overtraining, or any more than 4 days a week, your fatigue ratio, and shut up, right? Weekly volume. Is your weekly volume working for you? And are you recovering? And are you training hard? If so, go with it. I can train 6 days a week. I can train 7 days a week. I'm not coming here with big balls. It's just all about managing fatigue and weekly volume. So anybody out there in the lifting world that tries to be reductionist or arbitrary and talk about a certain number of days per week, they don't understand how lifting works. They don't. It's not an insult. It's a reality. It's all about weekly volume and recovery and hard training. Patty, when I deadlift, I feel like I can do the weight, but my grip slips. Use Versa grips or straps. You're not doing deadlifts to make your grip stronger, okay? Never let a weak grip impact your ability to deadlift or do back work. That's backwards. If your grip is weak, use Versa Grip Pros, use straps, and then do grip work at the end of your workout. It appears that a lot of bodybuilders are avoiding, I've never seen this at all in my life. Machines are not more effective. I've been around lifting my entire life. I don't know any bodybuilders that avoid machines. There might be a couple like Paula Carter. I'm not being dismissive, but I just don't see it. All right. What would be the key to be a successful? What would be the key to be successful? Training requirements of Planet Fitness is the main option. I have a membership at Planet Fitness because I live in a small town, and sometimes I just want to do a leg press or see the cable rows or just see what the broccoli-headed uh, guys are doing. Right? No disrespect. I had windshield glasses and a mullet when I was young, so no disrespect. But um, it's no different. You just simply have to find a good core group of exercises that work for you. And if you're not certain, if you have a good core group of exercises, you let me know what you have, and I'll let you know if I think there's anything you could fit in. I'm always happy to help. Let's see. Who are you picking in their prime? Salma Hayek or Angelina Jolie? Hold on. I want to see if I can. I want to see if I can find a picture of them together. That would be interesting. Let's see. Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie. I think I found a picture. Hold on a minute. We're going to do this. And I'm going to have you guys vote in the prime. Okay, I got the picture. Is that Angelina Jolie? Hold on. Sometimes these actors wear silly costumes and silly things. Okay, where'd the photo go now? Hold on. All right, so where are we? There we go. Ready? Present. Share screen. Okay. There you go. So, now I'm married, and I'm not going to get myself into trouble. But I'll let you guys decide. Who would you pick in their prime? You can go ahead and drop a comment, and I'll read them. Right, left, whichever way that is. Let's see. Ice Cold Tristan. I've seen your shorts videos on whether to warm up before heavy lifting. My only critique is that someone may benefit from doing a warm up. I didn't say they shouldn't, so I'm not sure what you're critiquing. Right? A critique would mean that you're criticizing, and I didn't say when you do. I didn't say they shouldn't. I'm just saying I want you guys to think that if some people think they have to do 5 minutes of steady state before they lift. My only point was people ask me why I don't do that, because I get into the gym and I walk around the gym and I'm grabbing plates and I'm putting the plates on. The point of that is to bring your body temperature up and just get the body ready for lifting. So it's basically the same thing. So you're not really critiquing me because we said the same thing. So that's not really a critique. You're just saying the same thing I did, and I don't mean any disrespect. Why does the same weight used on a Smith machine for bench? Because the barbell doesn't weigh 45 pounds. And also, if you're pressing into a fixed plane, even if it was the same, you can get a little bit of a slight leverage benefit. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not wrong. We're saying the same thing. If you like it, do it. That's the way I am. You've been on here long enough. I don't care what you do. I'm just giving people the idea that, moving around the gym is the same thing. So it's a little bit redundant for most people. Ian, so you can get big side delts by never doing. Yes, you don't need to do lateral raises. Yes, that's all I've ever done, Ian. You got to move out of that cult. Lateral raises are not the goat, right? They're like the tail on the goat, right? They're like the last 2.3%. You're not going to build side delts with only lateral raises. They're not that impactful. They don't have a big progression opportunity. I'm going to tell you something. People go batshit nuts over this exercise. because they're getting programmed by these influencers. And I'm not bashing on Ian because Ian's here every week, and I appreciate that, right? More than you know. But what I'm saying is these influencers go batshit crazy over lateral raises, while at the same time they go batshit crazy over progressive overload. You're going to be training for 5 to 10 years to build quality mass. That's the way it is. There's no way around it. You need a core group of exercises that have a progressive overload opportunity. Side laterals do not. You're not going to get to 100-pound side lateral raises. You can move up a little bit. In 40 years of lifting, I've never done more than 40 pounds on the side lateral raises. And most people that do, not all, most people that do tend to just turn them into a sloppy ego lift, and they're not getting as much out of it as they need to. If you want to do partial raises and then do a superset with side laterals, that's fine. But they do not have a big progression opportunity. That's not an opinion. They don't. You need exercises with a big progression opportunity that you can get big and strong on. Side laterals don't have a big progression opportunity. You can't wave the magic fairy wand and turn an exercise that doesn't have a big progression opportunity into something that's going to give you massive delts. You're not going to get massive delts from doing side laterals. They're the last 2.3% at best. And you can either believe me or you can do side lateral raises your entire life. But you need to do big, bold overhead pressing. That's going to be the meat and potatoes for your side delts. I use a Smith machine for quite a bit of bench work. Okay. I never tried a reverse grip. Reverse grip just doesn't work for most people. I'm not against it. Not against it at all. But you'll see like an influencer use it, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to use it. I've tried it. It doesn't work good. I hate it because it doesn't feel good. Most people will hate it because it won't feel good. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, just – are you still on a cut? I've started full speed the last 4 days, back on it. When I was sick, I was a little bit of a boo-boo baby. Is push-pull legs recommended? There's no magic splits, my friend. Doesn't matter. Your program does not matter. It's all about weekly volume, weekly volume, weekly volume. There's no magic programs. It's all about your weekly volume per body part. Use the split you enjoy. If you look at the last 3 major meta-analyses on frequency training, they all say the same thing, that frequency doesn't provide an advantage. This is not my opinion, folks. These are the last 3 major meta-analyses that show if weekly volume is the same, frequency doesn't matter. So use the program you want. Is it possible for my grandma to lose weight? Yep. Anybody can lose weight. Is it going to be easy? No. I know she barely eats. What she probably needs to do is change what she eats. But look, she's 70 years old, right? I mean, her biggest risks are osteoarthritis and cancer. And if she doesn't have those already, at age, so I understand you love your grandma. But the biggest risk for a woman at that age are osteoarthritis and cancer. Women don't tend to just drop over from heart attacks like men. So what I'm telling you is if she doesn't have either, she's in a pretty good position. Like losing weight's probably not a bad thing. But at that age, she's not going to have the appetite. She doesn't eat much. So the best thing for her is not to inherently worry about weight, but to make sure you're getting in enough nutrients. Okay, does that make sense? So, it's the same with anyone, protein foods and animal and plant-based foods. But she's 70. Give grandma some ice cream, right? Lent starts Wednesday. Do you think you can hit your protein goals with fish? I could hit my protein goals with pretty much anything. Would I want to do it with fish? I don't know, man. Grab the tartar sauce or something. Steelhead trout, maybe. Eric, thank you for the consistent answering the questions. You're welcome. And I'm glad to help, and I don't ever want to sound like I'm being hard on anyone. I just want to be truthful. This is not obvious. So many get angry, annoyed, and unfriendly when they hear the same questions. I want to bring something up on that. I used to run a major forum way back in the forum days, probably 17 years ago. It used to compete with bodybuilding.com as a forum of the year. And on these forums, these lifting forums or communities, and you can still see it in various formats, to this day. Beginners will come along and they'll have questions that have been answered 1,000 times before. And people used to tell them on these forums, go search. I would never allow that on my forum because there's always a crop of new individuals. And if you are truly going to be an educator and you truly care about people, you're going to meet them where they're at and you're going to understand there's always new people. And you're not just going to tell them to go Google search because they are more important. Building a relationship with people, you can help them better because, you can build trust, you can build a solid foundation. And we're working with people, not information. We're helping people. So people that tell newbies to go search, or it's been asked 1,000 times before, they're not interested in helping people. They're just interested in being at the top of the pile in whatever community they're at and sitting around dictating, go search, peon. I'll never do that. It's an honor to have you guys here, and it's an honor to help people. Eric, good to have you here from Germany. How much can allergies, congestion affect overall training? I've had some pretty bad sinus issues and allergies over the years. Sometimes you just want to leave the gym, right? But generally it doesn't. It's up to the individual, but generally it doesn't much. Justin Jr. The torso limbs plans called for 2 shoulder presses. What would I do if I can only do machine press? Dumbbell, Smith, and barbell. Okay, I'm confused a little bit here. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. If I can only do machine press, ? Dumbbell, Smith, and barbell. Like if you're at a place that doesn't have dumbbells and you can only do and you're at a place that doesn't have a Smith or a barbell and you can only do a machine, I would do a machine overhead and wow, I'd get a new gym to be honest with you. I don't know your situation, so maybe you can clarify. Because the dumbbell, Smith, and barbell at the end, I'm assuming you mean you can't do them. Why do a lot of natural lifters resort themselves in doing body part splits over conventional? Because it doesn't, splits don't matter, Ian, or high school, Tristan. Everybody trains differently. So splits don't matter. Weekly volume matters. I find it very hard to keep consistent form on pendlay rows. That's pretty normal. It's an exercise you have to be very disciplined with, and you have to keep your head locked in with your torso. Most people don't use enough power pulling up, and when they don't, their body wants to go all over the place. Like you can't get a big weight up going really, really slowly on a pendlay row because you're losing all power and all, all I can say is send me a video. Okay, that's the best way for me to help. So I think this is a clarification. If barbell, Smith, and dumbbell bother my shoulders, if they do, you probably need to see a doctor, and I'm not being facetious. If your shoulders are bothered by overhead pressing, I would definitely seek some sort of medical help. My shoulders, should I do that? if that's all you can do, yeah, then absolutely. I would honestly, I would see a doctor though, because that's not normal. How do accomplished coaches like you work around the various injuries, medical histories? You always focus on doing uh, finding what somebody can do. Anytime you're working with individuals, everybody has a different mental capacity and physical capacity for pain, a different set of injuries, and a different set of available equipment. It's not really research based, it's just experience based. You find what they can do and you do it hard. Does that make sense? And then you do feedback, and then if something doesn't work, you adjust. People think a few pounds of fat is noticeable. It's really not. For me, I have to lose 10 or more to really see. Yeah, exactly. In many cases, it's probably more like 15 to really start to notice, but you're right. I can deadlift fairly heavy now and have been finding it hard to recover in time for squats. That's pretty normal. I'd have to look at the splits, but the deadlifts are a taxing exercise. The only thing I would recommend is consider reducing your overall deadlift volume. Over the course of 10 years, you can get a lot of mileage only doing 2 sets of deadlifts per week. But if you want more help, I'd be happy to look at the program. I've noticed your extra messaging, especially when it counts. Thanks. I used to only do once a day, but I've switched over to this is probably irritating, but I've switched over to using voice to text most of the time, and that streamlines my communication so much that I can do that. Now, obviously, voice to text is going to use some, it's going to create some errors, and I apologize for that, but it allows me to get a lot more done. Does strapping a 5-pound plate in the middle of a barbell, anything that's resistance is going to be, definitely loading. So if that works for you, absolutely. Big Paul, how you doing, Big Paul? Thanks for tuning in. Woke up 2 pounds less this morning after eating Krispy Kreme donuts. It's funny. I used to get that a lot when I was in my 20s. And I don't know why, but my speculation is that I would eat a lot of food that I wasn't used to, and it would kind of flush out the old system a little bit. So who knows? Never know. Body's weird. Is there any difference in squatting with a weightlifting shoe over squatting it's all about how it feels. I would never go out and buy a super expensive weightlifting shoe without just being really, really comfortable, in a normal gym shoe with a little bit of elevated heel. Does that make sense? Needed to hear that. I'm glad. Most of the time when I'm doing these rants, it's stuff I just tell myself. And that, kids, is a stoic message of the day. Thank you. And this, boys, is why I respect Big Hair. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, guys. What leads to lagging arms? Nothing. You can do things that are going to reduce arm size, like not do arm isolation exercises. But really, when you're talking about something nebulous like lagging arms, we really need to get more specific. What's lagging? Do you have bad triceps genetics? Do you have bad biceps genetics? Are you doing enough compounds? Are you not strong enough on your compounds? We really need to get in the nuts and bolts. On safety bar squats, should the handles be tipped down? What I was taught, and I trained with at the time, the strongest power lifter in the world, the first time I did safety bar squats, he would teach me to raise them up and lock the elbows down. I think locking the elbows down facilitates core tightness, and that's really what you want to focus on. Throwing your elbows up, no, I don't think you can stay tight doing that. I see a lot of bodybuilders right now avoiding free weights. You guys are watching like a couple of these big top level guys. They built their base training the way we train. Okay. They built their base train the way we train, just like Paula Carter did. Once you get incredibly huge and incredibly strong, it doesn't take a lot to maintain that mass. So you can jump over and do fluffy fart knockers and machiny weenies and twinky dinky curls and nipple twirls and teacup laterals and waiter curls and all kinds of happy horse shit, right? You can do all that stuff. But, it's really easy, hold on a sec. I said somebody I care about. Let's see, back. Try to send me a video message. All right, where are we at? Salma, easily, are you kidding me? Well, yeah, easily. That's what I would say. Yep. Patty, I go to Planet Fitness for the free pizza. Hey, anytime you can get pizza is good. Absolutely, I agree with this. I agree with this poll 100%. I'm trying to navigate a minefield, but yeah, I absolutely agree with that poll. Okay. Sorry, I just had a life event pop up. Somebody that is basically my daughter was asking me for help. All right. That's not a good picture of it, but that's probably fair. I don't even remember what she looked like. Do cable exercises offer any benefits over free weights? I mean, they're easier on the joints, but they're kind of it depends on the cable exercise. Like seated cable rows is a goat, right? It's a great exercise, but every cable exercise is going to be different. So we have to kind of, weigh them, differently, if that makes sense. Do you use dumbbells? Oh, yeah, on everything. What exercises do you do them on? Dumbbell rows, dumbbell bench, dumbbell curls. I try to get a dumbbell exercise on everything other than legs because you can't really get a good dumbbell exercise on legs. Goblet squats are all right, but they suck ass. Dumbbell rows, dumbbell bench, dumbbell overheads, dumbbell curls, everything. If someone wants put on as much mass on their body as possible, then they should spend the majority of their time. You want to do compounds, but you don't want to be a compound dogmatist. You don't want to get into the cult of barbell. We want to balance things and get in a good degree of compounds but you got to fill in the cracks with your isolations. You just can't pound the body relentlessly with a barbell. All right. Just started today's sesh. Got 4 reps on. Good. That's good work. Maybe if the Wolf and Mike Israetel did, I'm sure Israetel did. Israetel was a power lifter. There's videos on Mike. Israetel did the big lifts. He did. He did all those things, so I just want you guys to keep that in mind. When you coach clients, you approach nutrition by assigning specific meal plans. It depends on the individual. Like everybody's different. Some want to track, some don't want to track. We watch your weight and we make adjustments based on, I'm always digging into consistency or whatever, but it's basically on the individual. I will give them as much accountability as they want, but we will watch things and I will work with them in the method they want as long as it's reasonable. Victory Friday down a hole on the old belt. Good work. My girlfriend is doing push-pull leg splits, 6 different workouts. I generally don't want to see somebody squatting. I want to see them squatting about every 7 days because generally your connective tissue can decondition. So I'd probably adjust that a little bit. I understand. I do. Just be safe in that case. Is it just me it's as easy to become a personal trainer as it is to get a certification. That's no disrespect. All right, guys, I got to go. I got to hop on a phone call. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great week. Come back next Friday, and I am out of here.
almost there. You're not almost there.
You're not almost there.